Alrighty.
hello, and welcome to this ninth episode of JTB Sports. I can't even remember. Damn,
Sounds alright to me.
it's been like
Yeah.
20 years since we've done our last episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we're gonna kind of go over a recap, mostly of our teams to begin. We might go over maybe just the season as a whole, how wacky it's been. And then we are going to preview the playoffs and the playoff teams. So, with that being said, let's start with the Vikings. How would you recap this 2021 Minnesota Vikings season?
You go ahead, Brett.
Well, it's certainly it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Literally every game up to this point, except the Seahawks game and the Packers game, have all been like one-score games, whether 8 points or less. And the Vikings have been on the losing side more than on the winning side. And just overall, to sum up the season, just disappointing. Zimmer, the whole offensive play calling, with the amount of weapons we have both on offense and defense, we just seem to get outcoached and outplayed and outclassed in every facet of the game when it comes down to the very important moments of the game. With all that said, talking about individual players, like starting with our quarterback, Kirk Cousins, he has had a really good year. He's had a great touchdown to INT ratio, so almost thrown for 4,000 yards. There's been moments where he basically single-handedly overcomes our inept coaching and play calling and gets us the win, just because of sheer talent alone. But yeah, this last week's game against the Packers, where Cousins tested positive for COVID, so Sean Mannion had to come in and play. And you just saw from the get-go we didn't have a chance at all in hell to beat Green Bay at Lambeau. And it's an end of an era. I think Zimmer is definitely gone. I hope so, for the sake of all Viking fans, that we can just move on, get a clean slate, and kind of just retool and start to slowly rebuild this roster, because it's going to be a long couple of years probably now for Vikings fans to finally see the Vikings be competitive, I imagine, once they fire Zimmer. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add to that. That's a really good recap. I mean, all I'll say is at the end of the day, we've had multiple years of a Super Bowl caliber roster and just weren't able to deliver. It's really unfortunate. And what do you do? I can't even really be mad because I've been asking for us not to make the playoffs this year, so Zimmer will be gone. So, bravo for not making the playoffs, Vikings. Maybe giving yourselves a chance at rebuilding a better team. But I mean, I guess a few things to be hopeful about. We've got probably right now a top 5 receiver in the league, and he's young and won't be leaving anytime soon. So that's really good. We've got Dalvin Cook, who's still young, but I know running backs expire quicker than a lot of other positions. So I don't know how much more of his prime is left. But, I mean, we can build around those two for sure on offense, and defense might be a little trickier. We obviously have Danielle Hunter, who's young, but he's been shown to be injury prone. I'm blanking on other young pieces we have on defense, Brett. If you can think of any.
Well, the big key ones is obviously Hunter, and then after that,
maybe.
Wanham's up and coming. Our D tackles, they're both free agent signings. Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, they're like in their primes, 27, 28 years old, both of them. So
yeah,
I guess Cameron Dantzler at corner, but he's kind of iffy. So yeah.
So yeah, those guys are all reasons to be hopeful. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of just at peace because I've already gotten through all of the disappointment and negative feelings, and I'm just glad that it's over. Well, at least I think it's over. We'll see what the
Hope so.
Vikings do. Knowing the Vikings, they might, keep Zimmer for too long, and then all the good coaches get snatched up, or they just keep him entirely. But yeah, I mean, it's I think it's time, and I'm very glad. So now I'm just gonna enjoy the playoffs.
Exactly.
Well, is that all you have on them then?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You got anything, Tom?
Minnesota, I mean, not really anything that you guys haven't already covered. It's just baffling how a team can be competitive and what is that, 14 out of their 16 games, or get it down to one score. I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
anything like that before.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's been a heart-wrenching season. I just about there was a point at which I thought I was going to lose my mind, or
You quite
either
did. For there were a couple times it seemed like you did.
yeah, it might have gotten maybe not lost, but it was very far off of its tether, and it just took a lot of effort to get it roped back in. Um, but I think I made it through with my sanity intact and without having a heart attack. So I'm going to take that as a win. And I guess I will just talk about Kirk real quick, because in my opinion, Kirk Cousins is an extremely disrespected, underappreciated quarterback. Obviously, there is something to his can't come through in the clutch narrative that has been built over time. Like he built that for himself, but like you look at this season, like Brett said, he like single-handedly kept us in games, pretty much entirely. Just put us on his shoulders. Dalvin Cook wasn't terribly effective this year, even though he had a lot of yards. He also had a lot of carries. I might have to look up his yards per attempt this season because I doubt it was very high. But I mean, you can see, like in the Green Bay game, that was the only game of the season when we got just completely blown out, and it was also the only game of the season that Kirk wasn't in. So, I mean, yeah, I like the guy. He'll probably be gone pretty soon. I've heard talks that the Steelers want him, so that could be interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing right now, and I might think of it if you guys start talking about the Vikings a little more. But we could just move on to.
I guess just off the top of my head, I guess certainly Kirk is not without blame himself. He like that Dallas game when we were going up against the backup for Dallas, Cooper Rush, and it just seemed like I think there was multiple chances for the Vikings to take advantage. Their defense kept them in that game against Cooper Rush, the freaking backup quarterback. So you think Kirk could at least win that game for you. And I think it was close at the end, but then Dallas got the last touchdown on the final drive of the game. But Kirk played pretty subpar in that game, only threw 184, a touchdown, had a passer rating of 88. The Pittsburgh game, he threw two pretty bad interceptions in the second half that led to Pittsburgh coming back and almost winning that game. So yeah, there's those. He's got some bad performances, but when it's a bad mixture of Cousins playing into his narrative that he's not good in the clutch, and then combine that with bad coaching and bad play calling, it's just it leads to the product that you see on the field. And I think it's best to just, like I said earlier, I think we need a clean slate, and hopefully we get that starting next football season. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Kirk has certainly had a few Kirk-esque performances, like stuff you'd seen from him in the past. But when you think about how atrocious the quarterbacks in the entire league have been this year, like I'm just glad he's played as well as he has. We can talk about that later or now. All the terrible quarterback play doesn't matter to me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's it. like to talk about this Bengals season that's happened thus far. I should mention, obviously, the season isn't over yet. Still got another week of the regular season. But for our team, I mean, you could say for our teams, the regular season's over. Cincinnati's already clinched a playoff spot. Minnesota's already been eliminated. That, and we're doing this a little early because we're both going to have very busy weeks next week, as it's the start of the spring semester for college for all of us. And we just thought it'd be easier to do it this week. So, with that being said, this Bengals season, I'd like to say it's also been an emotional roller coaster. Granted, nowhere near the level as the Vikings, but still, they've made me so proud at moments, and then at the same time, they lose to really bad teams. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Week 2, they lost to the Bears. Week 8, they lost to the Jets. And then they got killed by the Browns the next week. Now, the 49ers and Chargers, both of them are winning teams. So, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. But, just this past week, I thought there was no way in hell they'd win. Beating the Chiefs? Absolutely not. And that might have been the best game I've seen out of them in years. I mean, I can thank Kansas City's defense for constantly running cover 1 and letting Jamar Chase burn whoever that corner was. I think it was Tre'Davious Ward. But,
Poor guy.
I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's just, it's so baffling because, I mean, in part of my mind thought they would make the playoffs this year. I mean, most people, when they make predictions, they always go with the safe, predictable thing. That being, if they sucked last year, they're going to suck again. Or, if they were good last year, they're going to be good again. Like, for instance, people picking the Seahawks to win the division. Whew, boy, was that off.
Yep.
Anyway.
Brett chose them.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cincinnati went from being 4-11-1 to 10-6 and clinching the division. I mean, it really helped. I have to say it helped that the Ravens were super hurt and the Browns and Steelers both fell off a cliff. But I get to see Cincinnati play their first playoff game in 5 years. And it makes me wonder how they're going to fuck it up this time. If you forgot, the last time the Bengals were in the playoffs, cut moment. Can you hear that?
Hear what?
You don't hear? Okay, so whenever somebody takes a shower in our house, I can, like, the pipes are right next to me. So it's like a really loud noise whenever someone's taking a shower or a bath.
Gotcha.
So I just wanted to make sure you guys can't hear that because it's deafening
Nope.
in here right now.
Can't
Okay.
hear it.
Can't hear.
I
What
think
was I
Discord
saying?
has that noise canceling thing or whatever.
Um,
You were talking about how they find ways to mess up playoff appearances.
oh yeah. Okay. So I'll cut this, get ready to go back. 3, 2. So if you remember, the last time Cincinnati made the playoffs was the most pathetic meltdown I have ever seen. Where they had the game won after Vontaze Burfict picked off Landry Jones. All they had to do was basically sit on it, kick a field goal, and win the game. And yet they found a way to fuck that up. Now, I'm not going to go into excruciating detail as to what happened, but the hope is that now that we have a different coach, granted, I don't like him very much either, but it's just nice to see a different coach take the team to the playoffs. Because the last coach to take the Bengals to the playoffs, not named Marvin Lewis, would be Sam Weish, just the guy who took them to the Super Bowl back in 1988. Speaking of Zach Taylor, I would like to mention how much of a brainless moron I think he is. So it's the end of the game against Kansas City. It's like about 50 seconds left. They run the clock down. It's 4th and goal. Granted, you don't want to give. I know you don't want to give Kansas City any time left because of how dangerous their offense is. But sometimes you just got to take the points. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. No, not in Zach Taylor's mind. For some reason, he thought it was a better idea to go for it when all they needed was a field goal to take the lead. And not only did they decide to go for it, but they decided to run a pass play out of shotgun when they had it 4th and goal, or 4th and inches, basically, on the goal line.
Pretty stupid.
Now, if
Pretty
that
bad.
wasn't bad enough, it didn't work because anybody could have predicted that it wasn't going to work. They get bailed out by offsetting penalties, so it's 4th and goal again. Most people would learn their lesson. Oh, it didn't work. Well, I better take the points this time, right? No, not in Zach Taylor's mind. Let's not only go for it again, but let's run the same damn play. And guess what? It didn't work again.
No way. No
And
way.
luckily, they got bailed out by another penalty. Which, I should mention that Joe Burrow got hurt on that extra play that didn't need to happen. So thank you,
Because of
Zach
course he
Taylor.
did.
Yeah, you gotta wrap that guy in bubble wrap anymore. I mean, granted, it doesn't help that Tony Romo had mentioned on the broadcast that the Bengals only have 1 first-round pick on their offensive line. And the rest of them are either undrafted or 6th-round picks. Gee,
Damn, that's rough. That's rough.
remember Zach Taylor said they made progress on their offensive line.
By signing what? Riley Reed or Riley Reef?
Riley Reef was hurt, so they had to start Isaiah Prince at right tackle, who is a 6th-round pick out of Ohio State.
Mm.
The only first-round pick they have on their team offensive line would be Jonah Williams, who is the left tackle. Anyway, there was another penalty that bailed Cincinnati out, so they got an automatic first down this time. So Brandon Allen had to come in and knee the ball down just to run the clock out. And finally, they kicked the game-winning field goal. Now, you would think I'd be jumping up and down for joy that my team clinched their first playoff berth in 5 years, but I just couldn't focus on that because I was too concerned about Joe Burrow getting hurt. And getting to the playoffs is fine and all, but you're probably not going to stand a very good chance if you have to start your backup quarterback.
Probably not. It's always something with the Bengals that
Yep, they just got to find a way to fuck something up. I wonder if that's what they're going to do when they play in the playoffs. So I'm hoping this week, when they play Cleveland, considering they don't have that much to play for, I'm hoping that they just have him come in for a drive or so, maybe a quarter, probably not a whole quarter, just a drive. Have him just chuck it deep to Jamar Chase and get a touchdown. And then
Chase is down there somewhere.
Yep, you said it. And then put Brandon Allen in for the rest of the game. I don't care if they rest the rest of the starters, just because they're not nearly as injury prone. But I do not want to see Joe Burrow in the whole game, especially when they're going against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney.
I agree.
So
100%.
Brandon Allen is a decent backup. You can win if he's playing a crappy team. I think he can win the game. And Cleveland showed last night that they are not a good team, not at all.
They're beatable even with the backup, I think.
Which that makes me think the Browns have shut down Baker Mayfield for the rest of the season. He will not be playing next week, so the Browns will more than likely be starting Case Keenum.
You might as well put it backup versus backup.
That's exactly what I thought. They're starting a backup quarterback.
Both good backups, by the way.
I would rather have Joe play at least one drive or like throw at least once, just so he gets some time in the game.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
after that, then yeah, put Brandon Allen in for the rest of the game.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
no,
With the Bengals, I'm excited because they just keep finding new and creative ways to lose games in the playoffs, and
yes
so
they
I'm
do.
excited to see what they come up with this year. Yeah, with their season, um, like at the very start, I thought they looked like Super Bowl contenders, and I think they like have a shot this season because their offense is pretty stacked. Um, Two 1,000-yard receivers, a
A
1,000-yard
1,000-yard
rusher,
rusher, 4,000-yard
4,000.
passer.
Yeah, stacked
Sorry,
offense. They've got a Super Bowl caliber offense, and their defense isn't terrible, right? It's like average.
it the defense leaves much to be desired.
Okay.
Now,
Are they
they are
terrible?
like the most inconsistent team. No, they can look really good sometimes and they can look god awful. I mean, this past Chiefs
Okay.
game is a prime example. The first half was abysmal. I mean, they
Yeah.
couldn't stop anything. They could not stop a light breeze, basically. The Chiefs scored 4 touchdowns in the first half. They had 28 points by the end of the first half, and it could have been more if Tyreek Hill caught a wide open bomb.
Oh.
Now, going into the second half, they only allowed Kansas City to score 3 points the entire second half. So, I mean, that is the base. That is like the clearest definition of inconsistent.
Yeah,
And
for
they
sure.
should have picked off Mahomes twice because I don't know if it was this early in the second quarter, Mahomes threw a really bad pass right to none other than the good old Eli Apple,
Our
and he
friend
dropped it.
Eli.
He flat out dropped it. And then later in the
Really
third quarter,
surprised.
he, later in the third quarter, he threw a pass right to Mike Hilton, who also dropped it. So
Oh my gosh. Sounds like an interesting game to watch.
it
Sounds
was
like
like,
an
oh my god, I got to tell you the story of me watching it. There's a whole story in that of its own. So it was just pretty standard for the most part, and then uh, we get down to that final minute where all Cincinnati had to do was run the clock down and then kick the field goal. But my dad came in to watch, and he was I think he was more pissed off than I was when he found out they were going for it on that fourth and goal. Like, he was losing his mind. And the play happens, and then offsetting penalties, so they get another chance. And then he hears Tony Romo or Jim Nantz say, they're going to keep their offense out there and go for it again. And my dad basically turned into Darth Vader from Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Because he just flat out shouted at the top of his lungs, "No!"
Man.
Afterwards, when the game finally ended, my mom came out of the bedroom and said, "Man, you guys are stressing me out with how much you're yelling."
Oh man. Those are the best games, and I can
Yeah,
definitely
you know it.
say, yeah. Um, but yeah, I'll wrap up my thoughts on the Bengals real quick, and then I'll let Brett go ahead if he has anything else. Um, but yeah, at the start of the season, they looked like Super Bowl contenders, and then there was a solid period of 3 or 4 games when I thought, oh no, they just had a solid run. They're getting exposed now. But then after that, they reverted back to what looks like Super Bowl contenders, and so I'm just confused. It'll
Consistency.
be yeah, it'll be interesting to see which Bengals we get in the playoffs.
That's what I'm scared of. Hopefully we don't get the Week 8 versus the Jets version.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say.
Something
So
I've got to say I'm a little worried about is Jamar Chase. I'm not saying I'm worried about his play. What I'm scared of is, do you remember DK Metcalf when he was drafted in
Yeah.
2019? How he was a super rookie wide receiver for the Seahawks, and then the year after, he turned into an absolute diva, or basically Antonio Brown 2.0, which we got to talk about that at some point too.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. How did I forget about that?
anyway, I'm afraid that Jamar Chase is going to turn into a diva because of how good
Yeah.
how well the season's gone. I really, really hope that's not the case because AJ Green never went down that path. Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco kind of was, but it was never to the point to where it was distracting.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add about what you've already said, Jay, because yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Bengals team we get, because at the very start of the year, the game we were all excited for, week 1, the Vikings at Bengals, and that came down to overtime, where what was it? Burrow threw that pass to CJ Uzama to set up their overtime field goal, and that when the Vikings overtime possession where Dalvin fumbled the ball, he was down by contact, but he fumbled the ball, and so yeah, the Vikings, they Vikinged, and then the Bengals could have easily bungled that game
Yeah,
into a tie.
because I mentioned how they decided to go for it on 4th and inches again, like basically near the middle of the field, and they were going to call another running play, which wouldn't have worked. But Joe
Probably not.
Burrow bailed out Zach Taylor's horrible play call because he audibled to that pass play to CJ
Yeah.
Uzama. So, like I said, I think Zach Taylor's holding the team back, but he's gonna get bailed out this year because of how good his players are. And I guess the bad thing about Cincinnati making the playoffs this year is that means there's gonna be at least like 2 more years with Zach Taylor before they consider firing him.
That's probably true.
Now, it'd be
Probably true,
nice
yeah.
if granted, it's only his 3rd year as a head coach, so maybe he'll change his game plan. I have to give credit. Although that play call at the end of the game against Kansas City was beyond terrible, the problem with Cincinnati earlier in the season was how conservative their play calling was. Like, I remember getting pissed off at how much they were running, even when it was an obvious passing situation. And these past 2 games, it's like he's completely flipped the script. There's a lot of times where I'm like, why aren't you running now? Like, there's a lot of times where I feel like they could run and yet they choose to pass. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I have to give credit for him seemingly seeing his mistake and trying to fix it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It might win Coach of the Year, probably, with the turnaround the Bengals done. He could win AFC Coach of the Year.
He might.
He doesn't deserve that. I don't think he deserves that. There's got to be a better coach than him. Maybe Frank Reich.
Yeah. Colts.
Or even the Raiders coach. I have to give a lot of props to him, considering how horrible of a situation they were in. And, I'm really hoping the Raiders make the playoffs. I know this is a little off topic, but considering all the adversity they've faced this year, I think they deserve it.
I do too. Absolutely.
Yeah, they just. But the Bengals could potentially play them in the playoffs, I think, right? If the Raiders win.
I'd rather play them. That's the team I want to play because Cincinnati kicked their ass earlier in the season because the Raiders' run defense is not very good. I don't understand how they stopped Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if that was a fluke or if they've actually. I know. I just said their run defense is horrible, and then they found a way to stop Jonathan Taylor. But I remember back in week 11, that was Joe Mixon ran all over him, and it's not like their pass defense is good either. So.
Yeah. I was laughing for a different reason. Because I have him on my fantasy team. and I was in the championship, and he flopped, and so
Oh man.
yeah.
Didn't you
But
say
anyway,
your opponent had Jamar Chase too?
yes, my opponent had Jamar.
Oh my.
Oh man.
Anyway,
So yeah, I lost.
um,
um, but yeah, as far as what I gotta say about the Bengals, I don't have too much to add. What was already said. So I'm excited for the playoffs to start, just to see the Bengals play their first playoff game, like you said, in 5 years, and it'll be interesting to see which version of the Bengals show up. So
Yeah. And I guess I will add just one more thing. You mentioned you were worried about Jamar turning to a diva. Um, I think there have been warning signs. There have been warning signs, like when he tweeted that dumbass tweet before they lost to
yeah,
the
back
Jets.
in before week 8 when
Hmm.
they found out that Zach Wilson would be out, so they had to start Mike White, and he
Hmm.
tweeted, "Oh, looks like we get 2 bye weeks this year." You
Yep.
dumbass! What a dumbass!
Yeah. To me, that gives me major like Juju Smith-Schuster vibes,
Yeah, Juju
which are not good
Smith-Schuster. I
vibes.
mean, some wide receivers at least have the talent to make up for their diva, except for Antonio Brown because his diva is larger than all planets combined.
Yes.
Um, but Juju Smith-Schuster isn't even that good. I don't
He
think
fell
he's like the
off. He fell
third
off.
string receiver, isn't he?
He is. He went from
yeah,
being a Pro Bowler, a 1,000-yard receiver, Pro Bowler, to being a like the third man on the team. So yeah,
Well, I think
and
that.
I know. Oh, sorry, just one more quick thing. I know we're gonna talk about Antonio Brown later, but now that we mentioned him and Juju, seems like there's something going on with Steelers receivers because you got Antonio Brown that started in Pittsburgh, and you got Juju with his off-field antics and his diva mentality, and then Chase Claypool is also in
Mhm.
that same vein as freaking Juju, where he's more kind of obsessed with being a social media star than a football star, and it's I don't know, it's interesting.
It is.
All right, so this next part, I don't know how we forgot to put this in our like our planner for this podcast, but boy, oh boy, isn't that Antonio Brown something? Isn't he just a charming, lovely guy? My
Oh yeah,
God,
for sure.
when I saw the news, goddamn, it was just the funniest thing ever. And you know, people say you shouldn't laugh at him, you shouldn't make fun of him because he might have mental health issues. Well, I counter with he could get help if he wants to. He's just too much of a narcissistic dumbass to do so. So I really don't feel bad for him. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. I do not feel bad for Antonio Brown one bit.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, because it seems like if we're going to talk about his character, I guess that off the field, he just kind of generally seems like a bad person. Um, I think he's gotten like criminally charged. I know it was probably happened a while
Many
ago, but
times.
he's gotten like domestic abuse claims against him,
He's
probably some other
got
stuff too.
sexual assault claims against him.
Yeah.
He just
So,
doesn't like paying people.
oh
He
yeah,
also got
yeah.
charged for battery because he attacked a truck driver because the truck driver asked to be paid. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
He also threw out furniture off of a
Oh,
I saw
16-story
that.
apartment building
oh yeah,
and
that's right.
almost landed on a child and his grandfather
Oh my gosh.
and
I
killed
forgot
them.
about that.
So he has a lawsuit against that. But let's also not forget that at the end of this year, at the end of 2022, he has a boxing match with Logan Paul or Jake Paul. I can't
Are they
remember, one
still
of the
doing
two.
that? They're
Yeah,
Are
still
they
doing
doing that?
that?
I think so.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm excited.
We got to do a podcast on that alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is Logan Paul, I believe.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Jake's
But
fighting all the MMA fighters.
this has got to be the final straw. This guy is not getting any more chances after this. So, evidently, what happened was Antonio Brown complained that he had a sore calf. The coaches said, all right, Antonio, you need to go in. You need to go in the game, right?
Do your
And
job.
yeah, and he was complaining, or he didn't want to go in because of his sore calf. So they kept telling him to go in, and he refused. So eventually, one of the coaches was like, I think Bruce Arians himself was like,
Yeah,
if you're not going to go in the game, why are you even here? Get off my team. And he did exactly that.
he
He
left.
ripped his shoulder pads with his jersey on off, set them on the ground, and then he ripped his shirt off along with his gloves, threw them into the crowd, then runs onto the field while they're playing. Granted, it was the other side of the field, but still, and does like jumping jacks and gives the crowd the peace sign and runs out of the tunnel to leave. Like, you cannot make this shit up.
He's like a crazed drunk fan, like running onto the field. It's unreal to me. And the funniest thing too. So I remember initial reports, people were just speculating because he was really close to a bonus for a certain amount of receptions. And people were like, okay, I'm betting what happened is they benched him so he wouldn't get his bonus, and that's why he got pissed and left.
That's what I
No,
thought too.
no, it's exactly what you just went over, Tom. So he could have had a bonus, but decided to sit
Decided to
out
throw
with a sore
another
calf.
goddamn temper tantrum because he's done that so many times in the past and forfeit basically $1 million and his career. He's done. There's absolutely no way he comes back from this. Not in the
See,
NFL.
see, here's the thing. Antonio Brown has done so much stuff that teams continue to look past because he's just that good. And I think there's been worse stuff that he's done than this. So I am betting that Antonio Brown will be back in the NFL. I just want to throw that out there right now. Um, just gonna put that out there.
I
But
agree with that. Yeah, despite what I think that it is probably should be the final straw, and like the league should probably do something about how he left that game. There's probably some sort of detrimental to conduct, like he's violating something. You think, but he'll probably, like you say, for sure probably get a chance somewhere again. Not sure where, but he most definitely will.
yeah,
So
and sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I'd like to mention I just said that I think he's done, that he's got no more chances. But then I remembered yesterday that although Bruce Arians said he's no longer a Buck, he hasn't officially been released from his contract.
See, and I think I know why they're doing that. It's so nobody who faces them in the playoffs can pick him up and use him against them. That's
I really don't think any playoff team would be that desperate. If any team would take him, it's like a bottom feeder like Washington or the Jets. And even then, if he goes to Washington or the Jets, I know exactly what's going to happen. Because neither of those teams have a good quarterback, he's going to bitch that he's not getting the ball enough and then throw another hissy fit like he did on Sunday.
he had it made with the Bucks. Oh, it was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, he got everything basically, but he couldn't keep his goddamn head in check again. He had everything he
Again.
wanted with the Steelers. He had everything he wanted with the Raiders. And both of those times, he just couldn't keep his ego in check. What? The Steelers, the reason he left the Steelers was because he complained he wasn't getting the ball enough. And then the Raiders, the Raiders was because he couldn't wear the helmet he wanted.
That was so dumb. That was so stupid. And also with the Steelers, he just completely trashed Juju. And that was pretty sad to see because Juju was like, dude, I've shown you nothing but respect. And you just
He
trashed
was
me
jealous,
like that.
or he was scared of. He's jealous of him, I think, Because I think
Yeah, I
maybe at
think
that time
so.
he was getting more receptions. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he was doing that out of jealousy.
I think so. Yeah. And I guess I'll give my closing remarks on AB. He's done so much terrible stuff that like there's really no excuse. So it's on him at the end of the day, and I think he's a bad person in general. However, I will give him some sympathy because I think it's very possible that he has what's it called?
CTE.
CTE. I think it's very possible, and like we've heard reports from like former Steeler teammates of his, and we can even see it from a distance from an outsider looking in. He before the Vontez Burfict hit, I remember seeing like an ESPN film on him on how he took time out of his day, a lot of days to answer fan mail and sign people's jerseys, just doing really, good NFL player stuff. But after the hit, his teammates have reported that he was never really the same, and we can kind of see it too. So I think there's definitely something to be said that he probably got messed up from that hit and probably a lifetime of getting hit. So,
Mm.
yeah.
That's probably fair to say. Yeah, I would agree with you there. But yeah, I got nothing else to add to the whole AB situation. So
All right. Now that we're done with that short little segment, let us go into the playoff picture. Now, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of all the eliminated teams and the teams that are in it right now.
Here I've got it up right now.
I would like to
Let's
talk about extremely disappointing teams that came way short of the mark this past season. And I think we're all in unanimous agreement that the biggest disappointment of 2021 has to be the Cleveland Browns.
absolutely.
I mean, I guess they're the Browns, so we should, I guess I should
Shouldn't
have
be
somewhat
surprised.
expected this, yeah, that they
yeah,
disappoint somehow. And here we are. We're not even at the last week of the season, and the Browns have been eliminated from the playoffs. Actually, they were eliminated before they even played the Steelers.
It's just unreal. I thought they were Super Bowl contenders
Yeah,
at
with
the
all the
start.
talent they had on their team, with the free agent signings and the draft, their decent draft picks, they just, after week 4, after they beat the Vikings in Minnesota, they just fell off after that because they started out 3-1, and then after that, they just went into a downward spiral.
Yeah, for sure. And I I kind of it's because I really still like Kevin Stefanski a lot, just because he was from the Vikings, and he did such a good job last season. I don't know what's going on. I think it might be largely Baker Mayfield, guys. I'm going to be honest.
I
He's
wouldn't doubt
been
it.
he's been terribly inaccurate this season. We even saw it with our own eyes at the game. Um,
hmm
and Thomas, you mentioned I think yesterday when we were just talking in Discord that he makes terrible decisions.
Yep.
Um, Obviously Odell Beckham left. He didn't really do much for him anyway, but he left. Um, I think is Kareem Hunt back from injury yet?
No. Nick Chubb
Okay,
no,
is still.
that's another factor. Their two best running backs have been out quite a bit this season. It just really disappointing. And the Browns, everybody roots for the Browns. Everybody wants them to succeed.
Well,
So,
I was until that week uh, 9 matchup where they ran up the score on Cincinnati and
yeah.
kept. I have to say, I hate Jadeveon Clowney. I despise that guy because he seems to have a fetish for cheap hits. And I remember
Yeah.
a lot of cheap after the play shots on Joe Burrow in that game. So I am glad that he's on a 1-year contract because then I won't have to dislike the Browns when he's off the team.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was not a fan of that, and I want to get revenge this week. When I say that, that doesn't mean I want them to cheap shot Case Keenum. Obviously not. I want the run and pass defense to completely embarrass the Jadeveon Clowney and basically that whole Browns defense. Now, like I said earlier, I'd still prefer Joe Burrow rest most of the game, but it would be really funny if Brandon Allen could throw for 250 yards on him. Even that.
Yeah.
But
Real quick, I just want to mention, I don't know why I just thought of this, but can we just appreciate the fact that Joe Burrow has thrown 1,000 yards in the past 2 weeks?
just about 971 to be exact, and
Holy-
8 touchdowns, 8 passing touchdowns, no picks.
Wow. And Jamar Chase with 270 yards last game or whatever it was. Isn't that two 200-yard performances this season for him?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh.
One was against Baltimore back in week 7, and then was today.
Dude is cracked. He's insane. But yeah. What were we talking about again? Sorry to interrupt the conversation.
Big disappointments.
Yes.
What's one other big disappointment this season?
The Ravens.
Yeah,
Ravens,
I don't
yeah.
know if I should be that hard on them just because they were super injured before the year even started. And if you look back, a lot of their wins were just them pulling bullshit out of their, yeah, it was just pulling bullshit out of their asses at the last second. Like beating the Lions off of the longest field goal in NFL history. They beat the Colts because the Colts kept missing field goals to ice the game. They beat the Chiefs because Clyde Edwards-Helaire couldn't hold on to the ball. His life depended on it. They beat the Vikings because the Vikings decided to do nothing on offense in overtime, even though they had it basically in scoring range.
Do Viking stuff.
Who else?
Yeah,
They
I'm
beat
pretty
the
sure.
Bears.
And
They beat the Bears because the Bears secondary couldn't keep them out of the end zone with less than a minute left in the game, with a backup quarterback too. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of, but yeah.
you know what's funny to me is the fact that the Ravens' backup QB is just like a slightly downgraded Lamar.
That
He's
too.
just
I mean,
slightly.
I think he's a better passer actually.
He is.
So far, he's
Yeah.
shown that. I mean, maybe not against the Rams, but the Ravens got exposed. Like they got 8 wins. They were 8-3 off of a lot of luck, and the luck just ran out hard because 5 straight losses for the team. And I can't say I feel that bad for them, mainly because they're a division rival.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there are a few more disappointments. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks. Me and Brett both predicted they'd win the division, and boy, oh boy, were we wrong! Holy smokes, they are
And you know,
terrible.
Guess we haven't mentioned our own Vikings yet. They were obviously disappointing. You know, because we thought Zimmer, it's odd year. They've always made the playoffs in odd years with Zimmer, so they got to make the
Yeah.
playoffs this year. But
There's and there's a few more too. I'll just kind of list them off and see if you guys have any thoughts. The Carolina Panthers, I thought would be better personally.
well, I mean, anybody thinks they're usually just improving after a season, especially if you're rebuilding. And it looked like they had the first few weeks of the season, and then they got exposed. Their extremely
did.
messed up one-dimensional offense got exposed hard, and now
Yeah,
they're
and-
on pace to end with a worse record than last year. They
Yeah,
were 5-11 last year, and because of the 17th game, they're more than likely going to end 5-12.
yeah. I'm just worried for the Panthers too because like their whole offense is just Christian McCaffrey, and he is constantly injured, so
Yeah.
it's going to be tough for them.
who else? I guess the Miami Dolphins. I thought they'd be a playoff team.
Everybody was expecting
did
them to
too.
take that next step forward. And the first 8 weeks of the season, they looked like contenders for the number 1 overall pick. And it was cool of them to win 7 straight. But
impressive.
clearly that was because of the extremely soft schedule they had. Because when they had to play a not so great Tennessee team, they got exposed hard. I think that makes me want to say I think Tua is going to be Mitch Trubisky 2.0. That's what he's showing me.
Think he's going to be a bust?
Yes. Like, he's not the worst thing in the world, because Mitch Trubisky wasn't the worst thing in the world. There's, like, far greater busts than him. But Tua is just kind of on that level of extremely disappointing right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what I think of Tua is he does not seem to be a franchise quarterback, and what I expect from him is that once he's done with his rookie contract, he'll end up probably going to a bad team and just end up being the starting quarterback for them for a little bit.
Or a backup. He
And
kind of looks like a backup to me. He's like a backup to your quarterback.
yeah, that's what I was gonna go to next. I'd say he either ends up starting for a bad team or backs up for uh, for any team really. So
Does anybody remember that Mitch Trubisky is on the Bills right now?
yeah,
Yeah.
I completely forgot until a couple days ago.
yeah. Cal, I
Um,
remember he was pretty good one season.
one season. Well, he was average one season in 2018 when they went to the playoffs, and then
Hmm.
he got exposed hard after that.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see.
that being said, do we want to go into playoff predictions, and maybe talk about some of the teams?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Um, let's start with. I guess we could just move down the list
Yeah.
and start with the Green Bay Packers. They are the number one seed in the NFC for the second straight year, and I'm not impressed.
Me neither.
They
Yeah.
have looked really weak these past couple weeks, save for the game against Minnesota. Their team defense has not looked very good.
Yeah. The Packers, I feel like consistently are a very high seed year in and year out, and they never deliver, it seems like. And I don't know, like Aaron Rodgers kind of choked last year in the playoffs, and um, I feel like he's done that before. So am, I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender, even though they're the one seed and they have, I believe, the best record in the NFL, right?
Yep, right now with 13 wins, which is sad, but
Yeah. But I know that's crazy to say that the team with the best record in the NFL and one seed in the NFC, I don't see as a Super Bowl contender, but I just
dang.
don't. Yeah.
It seems like if they have to play a team that's really good, has a really good passing offense, which is almost every team in the NFC playoffs, then they could quite easily get torched.
They could.
Okay.
Or a good running team, because when the Vikings played them earlier in the season, Dalvin Cook ran all over them. I'm pretty sure, like their run defense can be pretty suspect too. So
Um, the number 2 seed, I believe, is the LA Rams at the moment. I gotta say, I'm not really impressed with them either.
Me neither.
Because Matt Stafford looked good, or Pat Stafford, I should say. Or Stat Padford, there you go.
There we
Stat
go. There we
Padford
go.
looked pretty good throughout the first 3/4 of the season, and then these past few games, he's looked terrible. Throwing 5 picks in the past 2 games. It makes me wonder if he's going to get exposed hard when he plays in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I mean, their defense with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, and
Got a lot of good players, but they can get torched. Their secondary has shown me that they can get torched pretty easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. And as much of
Yeah.
a historically great season that Cooper Kupp is having, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like they're setting up for disappointment in the playoffs with whoever they play. They could easily be a one and done team, get get upset. So yeah,
I could see it happening. Yeah.
Depending
Matt
on who they
Stafford,
play. If they play the
Um,
49ers at home, I think the 49ers are going to win that. I think the 49ers might win this week just because, for whatever reason, the 49ers just have the Rams number. Like the past,
yeah, they're
Yeah.
kind of hot right now.
what they were saying, well, the 49ers have beaten the Rams, what was it, the past 5 times they played each other? It
Damn.
was something like
Jeez.
that. I don't know if that's, yeah, it is. The past 5 times they played each other, the 49ers have won all of them. So if the Rams have to meet the 49ers in the first round, well, I would say so much for the Rams. Okay.
Yeah.
I could see it happening. And Matt Stafford looked like an MVP candidate right away, but yeah, he's dropped off, and that makes me sad because I've always been a huge Matt Stafford fan. But yeah,
Moving on, we got Tampa Bay in the 3 spot in the NFC. It's Tampa Bay again. I mean, their pass defense hasn't been particularly good, and they're extremely injured at wide receiver. But I mean, I can see them. I see them exiting no earlier than the second round. So
yeah, I like the Bucks a lot. Obviously, I'm never gonna doubt Tom Brady again. I could see them
Yeah.
winning the whole thing again. But like you say, they're very injured at wide receiver, and they just lost Antonio Brown. So we'll see.
4 seed is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't understand them. The first 7 games of the season, they look fantastic, like firing on all cylinders. Dak Prescott was great. The running game was pretty damn good. And then ever since Dak came back from that injury, they just have not been the same. Not at all.
Yeah. I guess I'm not confident in the Cowboys at all.
Neither am
I
Not at
would
this
say
point.
I would say they are the let me just take a look at all the division winners. They are the most likely first round out of the division winners, I'd say, in the NFC.
Especially if they play Arizona again. 5 seed, which leads me 5 seed is Arizona. Arizona, I mean, they've been on a skid lately. They did look good against Dallas, but I don't know how much of that was Dallas and their own problems or them actually performing to where they need to be.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are pretty injured still. Like
That's
D-Hop
bad,
is
too.
still out. JJ Watt's out. They
James
probably
Conner.
James Conner. They're probably missing some other pieces too. So, and I don't know if I trust if Cliff Kingsbury play calling in the playoffs. It just seems like
Probably not.
it just seems like they'd be a team to be in prime position to win a playoff game, but then they fuck it up somehow. So, yeah.
And
What else
I
do
guess
we
I'll
got?
say, just real quick, Kyler Murray has been subpar this season. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because he's still been good, but he's not been Kyler Murray, you know.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals have just been overall inconsistent. I'm not confident in them at all, and I think they'll probably be first round out, depending on who they play. We'll see.
6 seed is the 49ers right now. 49ers are good off of their run game and their defense. Jimmy G, well, I mean, it's safe to say this is his last season in San Fran.
Yeah, for sure. I guess what I'll say about them, I actually really like the Niners right now. I think they're gonna take round one. Bold
Depending on who
prediction
they
right
play.
off the
If they,
bat. Yeah,
depending on who they play, I would say.
yeah. I guess let's just preface any prediction I make. Just preface it with depending on who they play.
Yeah.
But I'd say the Niners have a decent shot at winning their first game. That's what I'd say. I like
Yeah.
them right now.
You know what I really want? What I
Hmm.
kept hoping would be a wild card matchup would be the 49ers at the Buccaneers. The past 2 NFC championship or champions.
Yeah,
I'd
that would be
really
awesome.
like to see that.
Wait, are the Niners even guaranteed in right now?
No.
They're behind.
It's
Yeah, they're
it's
behind
weird.
the Eagles,
No,
right?
that's the thing though. the 49ers are in the 6th seeded spot.
Okay.
The Eagles are in the 7th seeded spot. Yet the Eagles have clinched, but the 49ers haven't.
What?
I have never seen that before, but I know the 49ers have the tiebreaker over the Eagles
Yeah.
because they beat the Eagles back in like week 2. But
Mhm.
the 49ers do not have the tiebreaker over the Saints. So if the 49ers
That
lose to the Rams and the Saints beat the Falcons, the 49ers will be out and the Saints will be in.
it's
Which
really
I
weird.
I don't hate the Saints as much as you guys, but I don't want the Saints in the playoffs. They are
Yeah.
an extremely
Yeah.
injury-riddled team, and they would just get destroyed in the first round unless they
To,
played Tampa Bay.
to me, Saints making the playoffs would be like the Bears. That was either
Last year,
last
where
last
the
year,
8-8 Bears made it because of how bad the conference was.
and it's funny because they played the Saints, right, that year
Yeah,
and
and the
got
Saints
smoked.
did.
So
That was like the worst playoff game I've ever watched. I don't even want to think about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then the last seed is the Eagles, who, for me, it's hard to believe that Jalen Hurts is now a playoff quarterback because I really don't think he's that good.
he's
But
Yeah.
a worse runner than Lamar, and he might even be a worse passer than Lamar. He's just
yeah, he's
downgraded
not a good
Lamar.
passer either. So,
Yeah,
um, jumping over to the AFC, we'll start backwards. Right now, the 7th seed is the Chargers, with the Raiders right outside. That will be the final game of the regular season, the Chargers at the Raiders. I'm really hoping the Raiders pull it off, not only because I think they've earned it more, but it would be such a Charger thing to lose in the last game of the season, considering
It would.
they've made so many accomplishments this past year, and then to lose like that, like it would even, you know what, the cherry on top would be if they lose to the Raiders off of a missed field goal. That would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh man.
yeah.
Anyway,
With the Chargers, they're another team I'm not confident in. I don't think anybody's really confident in the Chargers.
no.
But I mean, I think pretty much anybody would say they're the more talented team than the Raiders, and so they should beat the Raiders. But I really hope the Raiders win, and the Chargers are known for choking. And the Raiders are getting Waller back, I think. So
Good. 6th seed is, I can't remember if it's the Patriots or the Colts. I
Colts
think it's
right
the
now.
Colts right now. Is
Yep.
it the
Hmm.
Colts?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the Colts were on a hot streak there. I'm not going to be too hard on them, even though they did lose to the Raiders. That was a hard-fought game. So I think the Colts, I would not want to get in the way of the Colts right now. I think out of the wild card teams, they're the hottest ones still, despite losing. Would not want to
Yeah.
run into them. I don't care who Cincinnati plays in the first round, but I do not want them to play the Colts.
Yeah. Brett, if you ever have anything to say, just go ahead and interrupt me. I know I'm just going off, kind of.
Oh no,
But
you're fine. I'm running out of things to. I'm trying to think of things to add about
We
these
gotta hurry up
AFC,
and end this.
but yeah.
no.
Um,
Let's so with the Colts, what I'll say is they're another team I like a lot right now. Like you,
Me
Thomas.
too.
I agree. And Jonathan Taylor's a beast. He's tough to stop, but he is stoppable, as we've seen by the past few performances. So we'll see what happens. It
The
kind of
Colts and
depends
the
on how he
Raiders have to
plays.
be the two most likable wild card teams right now. Because
Yeah.
the Colts started
Yeah.
out 1-4, and now they're 9-7. And the Raiders, what didn't happen to the Raiders?
Yeah.
Which I like to
Goodness.
mention that another one of their defensive backs just got arrested for DUI.
Oh, that's so. What is that now? That's um, a legendary head coach dies. Head coach gets fired, or yeah. Henry Ruggs kills somebody in a car accident. Another defensive back gets arrested, and then their first round. What position
Damon
was he?
Arnett, it was a
Yeah,
corner, got cut because he threatened to kill someone.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think. I think that's it, but that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot, yeah.
you'd think. Then you got the Patriots in the number 5 spot. The
Unfortunate.
Patriots are back in the playoffs, yes, but I would not be that. I'm not that scared of them because the Patriots historically do not play well when they have to play in a wild card game,
Yeah, and
and
I
their
guess
offense just is not very good.
yeah.
Like,
They don't really have any weapons, and they have a rookie quarterback, and we all know how rookie quarterbacks tend to do in the playoffs. So, uh, yeah, I'm not too high on the Patriots. Their defense has been really good this year again, but yeah, I think they're likely gonna get bounced first round. We'll see though. We'll
depends on who
see.
they play.
Yep.
Yep.
Then the 4 seed we got the Bills. The Bills struggled quite a bit throughout the middle of the season. They've kind of bounced back, even though Josh Allen looked horrible on Sunday. But again, depending on who the Bills play, like if they play New England, I think they can win that. If they play the Colts again, considering what happened earlier in the year, I'm not so sure about that. But
Yeah.
you guys got
Yeah, the
anything else to add on the Bills?
Bills I don't like is all I'll say. I think
Really?
I'm not confident in them. And but I mean I do like them, like I root for them, but I don't like their chances is what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say the same. Yeah.
3 seed is the Bengals. We've already talked about them.
Yeah.
2 seed is the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs were really hot there with that 8-game win streak, ended by none other than Cincinnati. Um, I still think they're going to get to quite possibly the conference championship. Now, if they have to play the Chargers in the first round, which I don't think that's going to happen, I think the Chargers are the one team that could beat them in Kansas City in the first round because they're more than likely not going to get a bye. And
Yeah.
then
The Chiefs, I feel like I'm saying this for almost every team. Another team I'm not terribly confident in. I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest.
I agree with you there.
So
The
yeah.
last, we got one more team, and that'd be the Tennessee Titans. Despite how horrible they've looked in the season without Derrick Henry, they're still more than likely going to get the number 1 seed, which is sad because of how bad the conference is. Now, maybe they'll turn it around when they get Derrick Henry back, but I'm going to read your mind here, Jay. I'm not really high on the Titans.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that basically wraps up our very brief take on the playoff picture. Don't really have much more to add. This is kind of a longer video, but I mean, we've been absent for a couple weeks. So we might do a video going over the wildcard games after they've happened, because we're probably not going to do a preview of the actual wildcard games. So like I said, all 3 of us are going to be busy. So with that being said, we will see you on the next episode of JTB Sports.
Peace out.